Thank you, Rector Helen, for inviting me to offer today's sermon. You may be more accustomed to seeing me in the choir loft or in the sanctuary worshiping, or perhaps greeting you as an usher. But I'm also an ordained minister in the United Church of Christ. My grandfather and father were both ministers, making me third in my family to occupy a pulpit. In 1991, I completed divinity school and for 10 years served in church leadership. More recently, I've been doing nonprofit work counseling senior adults with housing and financial challenges. All of it is God's work, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to engage with you in this way. Louise Penny, the Canadian novelist, invented the town of Three Pines. Three Pines is off the grid, somewhere outside of Montreal. Her central character is Armand Gamache, a well-read soul, unafraid of being wrong, willing to be unpopular, and able to live in his own skin. None of Louise Penny's characters is without self-doubt, apprehension, foibles, or frustrations. We can see ourselves in all her characters, even the ever-unpleasant Ruth Sardo. The real world is more like Three Pines than a Disney drama of clear-cut good and evil. Thank God Jesus lived in the real world, in the midst of murky motives, where he could sort out better from best. Throughout his life, Jesus points the spotlight to the spirit of the law, not the letter of the law. For the rule-bound Pharisees who think they know best, Jesus tries to help them see that their rules are what's keeping people from living as God intends. But they're blind. These practicing priests and synagogue saints see themselves as defenders of the capital T truth. After all, their ancestors trod through deserts and suffered indignities for believing in the one true God. These ancestors of Jacob believe they are on God's side and will do anything to prevent an outsider from promoting a different point of view. Can we blame them? They inherited a system that said, if you don't do things right, God will smite you, everyone, down to the nth generation. So when Jesus heals on the Sabbath and touches untouchables, he's threatening the very essence, the very core of Judaism. To make matters worse, Jesus talks about being food and drink, that to have life you must eat his flesh and drink his blood. For the Pharisees, this is anathema, fuel for their fire. They can quote chapter and verse of how human sacrifice was settled eons back when Abraham was told not to sacrifice his son. That was when God drew a very heavy line between his Hebrews and other cultures who sacrificed their own to please their little gods. What Jesus suggests is quite clearly pagan. And to claim this abominable act as the gateway to eternal life? For the Pharisees, this is a cause of epic proportion. What they don't see is their better way is in fact not the way of God. And further, their blindness is abetted by their desire to be seen as wise and worthy. Isn't that the heart of the human story? To want to be wise and worthy? Human nature is a very peculiar thing. We wake up determined to be good, to strive a little harder, to be a little kinder, to show ourselves grateful and giving. But this patina is easily perforated. Our core need for affirmation and acceptance leads us to some pretty dank places. And Jesus knows this. Because Jesus knows that the human heart is an unreliable organ that will sell out easily, sometimes to the lowest bidder. I had a dream the other night where I was back in my elementary school. It was summertime when we kids came to school for crafts and activities, no doubt to keep us occupied and out of mom's hair. In the dream, I was making a keychain from plastic parts, weaving these to match the model presented by the teacher. In the dream, I was very anxious about getting my keychain just right. Fear absolutely gripped me, aware as I was of not measuring up to the model, and worse, the other children. My fumbling fingers just couldn't weave like they could, and I was left in a heap of despair. That terrible feeling lingered into my morning and long into my day. As the day wore on, I noticed myself wrestling with that fear. I observed my adult coping skills, telling myself none of this really mattered, that I wasn't still 10. It was just a dream, and real life would be much different. But these platitudes didn't help. So I went for the master excuse. I blamed someone else. Surely my mistakes were the teacher's fault. If I had had better instruction or better equipment, I would have been better. But not even that touched this core fear that I didn't measure up. I hated that dream because it stripped away nearly 60 years' worth of hard-earned coping skills. In the school of life, the craft we've all been working on is to construct insulators between our core selves and the critical world. We've all been busy weaving blankets of protection, more commonly called judgment and excuses. Judgment that we know best, and when we don't, we make excuses and blame others. In my dream, all that was stripped bare, exposing the primal fear of being rejected. A few chapters back in John's stories, we meet the woman at the well. This story is the headwaters of Jesus' assertion that he is God and the source of true life. What is astonishing is that this woman he meets glories in being discovered as she is, for who she is. She is happy to be seen in her true self, in spite of her multiple husbands. And what are multiple husbands except an endless appetite for affirmation, affection, and acceptance? What could possibly account for her absolute elation but an encounter that allowed her to stand in her own needfulness and find herself truly accepted, superlatively satisfied? How does that happen? She has only to believe in Jesus. She has only to believe in him, because in him she is complete. What if Jesus said to you, "I see you, the true you, riddled with worry, saddled by disproportionate sense of duty and fear. So much of your life is aimed at earning acceptance and appreciation. Your base core fear is that you will be left alone, that you won't be okay, that you never have been okay and never will be. And for all your adulting and skills building and well-practiced judgments and excuses, nothing on this earth really changes your core condition. Not certainly being right. What if Jesus said to you, the shattered and starving, needful you, I see you, and I've got you. You are okay. You have all you need. You need not achieve the grade or reach the summit to be worth the space you take up, because you have always been meant to be here. That you are here is because I wanted one just like you. What if Jesus said that to you? Would you believe?